Good morning, Nigerians. Now, Nigerians are out of the euphoria of independence celebration and now back to the business of governance. Just yesterday, President Muhammadu Buhari presented the 2023 appropriation bill of 20.51 trillion naira to the joint session of the National Assembly, and that budget was dubbed Budget of Fiscal Sustainability and Transition. And after he also told us that the budget will address critical issues of the state, that is infrastructure of road, rail, and security, power, and so many other things. And aside that, politicking has started and began in earnest with different alliances in different quarters. That is why some people even say they are batified. Some people say they are articulated. Some say they are obedient. And some even kwankwaseya. Different alliances here and there. That is to tell you that impressively Nigerians are so involved in the electoral process. Of course, it's a good thing that Nigerians are involved. It's impressive that people should get involved in their civic responsibility to their nation, especially in choosing the leaders that lead them. That is why today's edition of Weekend Deal is themed Roadmap to 2023 General Election. I am Shikeola Ikpenayib. Today on Weekend Deal, we'll be looking at Roadmap to 2023 General Election, and we have a whole lot of conversations to buttress some of the issues about 2023 General Election, from the importance of a National Peace Accord that has been signed already, so the need to hold leaders accountable, and a whole lot more. Now we will be looking at the background that will set the tone for our conversation today. That is Roadmap to 2023 General Election. Francis will be our guide. Francis.
As the 2023 election draws closer, campaigns are in top gear as political parties devise strategies to win the electorate over. What should be the content of an ideal campaign message?
When you are campaigning, every candidate should focus not on attacking the other candidate, but reeling out the ideas that they are bringing to fore to the people to understand, so that they can know that this is where we are better than that other political party. And this is where I am better than that other candidate that you have been voting for. If you're a candidate that is not focused, on idea and ideology, you will say, okay, let's give them what they like. What they like is lies, noise. That's why you see the music is always with very big loudspeakers blaring to the point that even the people hardly hear what the candidate is saying.
Democracy has been adjudged the world's most accepted system of government. So, the need for full participation by all and sundry cannot be overemphasized. One way citizens can participate in the democratic process is by holding politicians accountable to their campaign promises.
When you go for any campaign program, make up your mind that what you want to hear are ideas, ideology, program, policies that this candidate is bringing, to bear if he wins. And if they are not doing that, gently direct them back and say, this is not a jamboree. What makes you different? What do you want to do for us? How can we trust you that you will be better or you'll be different than the people that have been there before? This Nigerian electorate does not have the moral, they don't have the moral scruple to hold politicians accountable. Do you know why? They themselves know, most of them know, that they vote for candidates based on inducement. I will also tell you my experience. Yesterday, as we were campaigning in Yanya, I have written what I want to do for FCT beautifully in a paper, manifesto, in a brochure. We call it FCT New Deal. So as I was trying to share this beautiful idea with people in Yanya, somebody was pointing to me. You didn't put money inside the flyer. You didn't put money inside the flyer. So that's what I'm telling you. So if somebody now put money in the flyer and win, do you have a right to hold them accountable? Which promise? You didn't listen to the promise. It was the money you were interested in.
The essence of democracy and governance is to bring development to the people. Unfortunately, this is not the case in most developing countries, including Nigeria. This is why Nigerians must learn to subject candidates seeking public offices to debate and town hall meetings to discuss their plans for the people.
Who are the politicians that do not come for debate? We know them. The big parties. It is not what they say during the debate that Nigerians are looking for or waiting for. So they don't bother to attend the debate. So they see debate as for candidates that are called small candidates or candidates of small political parties that cannot win. Election should be a marketplace of ideas. But in Nigeria, election is not a marketplace of ideas. Election is a marketplace of transaction, financial transaction. So they know that they have that financial transaction in excess, and they are going to leverage on that to win the election. So that's why they don't attend that debate. What it means is that they have no regard for the electorate.
As politicians seeking elective offices traverse the length and breadth of this country for support, who is regulating campaign messages?
Campaign messages are to be regulated by INEC and then Nigerian Broadcasting Commission. Nigerian Broadcasting Commission regulate campaign messages through these stations like NTA, like AIT, like channels, and so on and so forth, and the radio stations. So they tell them that we don't want messages that resemble hate speech, messages that have elements of blasphemy or slander or libel for newspapers and so on and so forth. So that's how that is done. And then INEC, as the regulator of the elections, generally also regulates this. But is the regulation, is it robust? Do they have enough people to follow it up? That's another thing. And then even if you say anyone has infringed on it, with the court process, will it be fast? Or will it be something that will go on for years, even after election has finished? So these are other areas we need to work upon, even as we look at regulating messages of campaign, so that it can be messages that are developmental and that are productive, and not messages that are just focusing on the personality instead of focusing on the issues.
This is an interesting season as the race for the 2023 election gets closer. Weekend Deal today is captioned The Road to 2023. Weekend Deal!
Quite interesting season in the politics of Nigeria, and ideology, issues and policies, programs should be what should drive the decision of electorates at this time, not personality and some other flimsy things that have been looked at. Now, the Peace Pact or Peace Accord had been signed in Nigeria. It is one practice that was adopted in the electoral process of Nigeria. What impact does this make to the electoral process beyond the ceremonial signing of that accord? Juliet Aino will tell us in this next report.
As the countdown to the 2023 general elections reduces, strategies are already in place to avoid electoral violence, which had become second nature in elections in Nigeria. Former head of state and head of the National Peace Committee, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, presided over the first of two peace accords to be signed ahead of the 2023 general elections.
This ceremony has its own impact. People must get to respect those who are behind, the management of the peace committee. So in that respect, their integrity, their reputation is bearing a lot of weight on the agreement that is being signed.
Other stakeholders will now be required to also come in and say this is what we need to do to ensure that this is not just a symbolic gesture, but it really goes to the root of what we expect to see. For the most part, we expect that all stakeholders will be involved in this process of ensuring that the peace accord is not just one of those documents, but it continues to do what it has always done since 2015.
This pact, like those signed by stakeholders in 2015 and 2019, is meant to commit all presidential candidates, political parties and their spokespersons to direct their focus on national development and issue-based campaigns instead of hate speech and violence in the build-up to the elections and after. Whether or not this exercise has been effective over the years has been the topic of most conversations.
It could be a mere ceremonial display, but it also has a psychological effect. Because when the people are seen publicly signing into these documents and accepting to want to work together to ensure that their followers don't resort to violence, it will go a long way to also affect the psyche of the followers, even though we've seen that it has not been that effective as expected, as one would have expected. Because in 2015, we saw the pockets of violence that took place as a result of disagreement, all of those things.
We need to go beyond what we see on TV screens or hear on radio and read in newspapers and unpack the role of the National Peace Committee. And if we do this, we would see that in 2015, the National Peace Committee played a critical role in the transition that we witnessed.
Like in the last two instances, the Peace Pact document maintains that under the supervision of the National Peace Committee, the candidates, political parties and their proxies will refrain from provocative rhetorics that could threaten national interest and peace. While some Nigerians doubt the level of impact the Peace Pact has had over the last two general elections and now, others argue that even if signing the document may not completely eliminate violence in elections, it has succeeded in establishing some level of civility in electionary campaigns in the country.
It is not a sham. It is not a sham. People who have experienced post-election violence, particularly here in Africa, would know the role that symbolic efforts like this play.
The only problem that I think the peace accord has is that it's just a moral persuasive process. For the peace accord, it is the big names that are behind it that are making those who are presidential candidates, to how they call it, to moderate their tone, to moderate and then also speak to their supporters. But at the local level, the local election, the national election, state elections, House of Assembly election, and governorship election, it doesn't really translate into generating more impact at that level.
The 2023 presidential candidates are expected to sign another peace accord just before elections, promising to accept the results of a free, fair and credible election.
Have already in the house to come down with us on the conversation, Mr. Sergius Ogun. He's a member House of Representatives. He will be looking at some of these issues with us. Thank you for joining us in the studio. Okay, you saw those reports talking about peace pact, and let us start with that. Now, this is a practice that was imbibed into or infused into Nigeria's electoral process by some credible Nigerians, respectable Nigerians, and looking at it beyond the ceremonial display of the signing of the candidates being around and all that, what impact would you say this peace accord, signing of peace accord, has brought to the electoral process in the country?
Well, when you are the leader of the party or the candidates and you are before the cameras and before leaders, because I can see then you begin to have the big traditional rulers, then you have the people they call the owners of Nigeria, the Dangotes and all that. They were all sitting down there, and then you sign that before your followers, before the electorates. If there is a breakdown of law and order and it can be traced to you, you lose credibility. That's number one. People might say, well, you might not have the force of law, but you lose credibility. So how can you not come out again or come out ever to tell people I'm a man of peace and or I want to govern you? People that are voting for you will have to be alive to vote, isn't it? Or the people you want to govern, they have to be alive. You have to govern over a country. You have to govern over a particular place. So when you incite violence and the people are killed, then who are you going to govern? So it's very important that the key actors are present in the room with the so-called leaders, traditional rulers, and the movers and shakers in the community. So,
okay, no, can this be taken, this peace accord, can it be taken forward? You said something about no force of law backing it. Yeah. Can it be taken forward to make it maybe signed into law, so that if there is any form of if the candidates don't abide by whatever it is, they can be held accountable?
There are other laws.
By the law.
There are laws already. The Electoral Offences Act and all that. Now we're talking about having a tribunal strictly for that. So there are laws already. But even this, in the conscience of even the judge sitting on any matter, if it's ever referred to a court of law, is that you went out in writing their judgment. They can actually infer to this. You went out with all your supporters to a ceremony like this, and you endorsed a document saying that you will not support violence. And then violence is coming from your camp. Like I said earlier, especially if it can be traced to you, that you sanctioned violence, you perpetrated it, you supported, you financed it, So what has happened there in this peace accord can be inferred to say you came out to the public to say you're a man of peace, but behind the scene, you were instigating violence.
I was just thinking it can be more enforced other than just a display of ceremony.
What you should be talking about is the police. Now, because that's some of the things I have, or these are some of the issues I have against the electoral tribunal they want to set up now. But what I'm saying, even if there's an offense, you still have to report to the police. They still have to investigate before the matter is charged to court. So if they don't do that, you have a tribunal to just handle electoral offences.
But we've had cases of violence in electoral processes that this peace pact has not really addressed the issues. We've had a number of such cases. I don't want to start to mention them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The peace pact is moral, like this said, is moral. So you have come out before the whole world to say, I'm a peaceful man, I will abide by the election.
And if it is breached?
Yeah, so it becomes a moral thing. So that's when people will say, okay, look, you are not a decent person.
Okay, I'm just thinking beyond the moral obligation, there should be law enforcement. Anyway, let's move on. We're talking about politics, roadmap to 2023 general election. Election campaigns have been flagged off, and some of the political parties have already started campaigning all around. We're looking at what should Nigerians, the electorate, be looking at in these campaigns? Beyond the personal issues, what should they be looking at?
So it's a good thing you mentioned their personal gains. Most Nigerians look at what will come to them. Is this person from my tribe? Is he part of my religion? Is he from my... Do I know somebody that knows him? Because you hear people say, I know the nephew, I know the niece, I know the wife, I know, they want to be tied to you. But I think we should move beyond that right now, because we are in a terrible state in this country today. You should look at that man, that woman that can make policies that you don't have to know anybody for your child to get a job. You don't have to know anybody for your child to get admission to school. You don't have to know anybody in authority for your child to get into university today. Depends on the course the child is reading, to say 4 years, 5 years time, which is the duration of the course, will graduate and leave school. If we begin to think in that light and put aside these primordial whatever intentions, we will get there. So I will advise, listen to them attentively. judge them by their actions. Yeah, because I envisage that the big parties will suffer if the way the young people are beginning to think and come out, if they see it to the end, the big parties will suffer a huge setback. Yeah, because they are playing it the way it's always been. Somebody comes to Abuja, he gets nominated as the presidential candidate of the party, then you are going back to your state, you are flying the private jet. Your personal, not hired, personal private jet. And then you have a convoy of over 200 cars, which is triumphant entry. Yeah, it's good. But look at the country today. We are on our knees in this country. There are so many people that I know that cannot take their 3 square meals, not even 2. And now you are living that kind of lifestyle. Others, just to unveil the vice presidential candidate, the running mate, governors are flying in with private jet from all over the country. You are bringing people from all just to unveil. That ceremony can be done anywhere. And because what's the cost of chartering a private jet today? And you people see governors arriving at the airport, see governors moving to that place, you see all manner of cars. And there are people that are sick, all they need to pay their hospital bills less than 20,000 naira, less than 5,000 naira. They do not have it.
Yeah, you made emphasis on youth movements and youth getting themselves together to change the narrative. Are you referring to a particular political party in this contest?
Well, maybe not exactly.
Okay.
Not exactly, because you look at the NSAS. I had said, maybe on a program like this once, that NSAS happened. It wasn't planned, it just happened. And I said the question is not whether it will happen again, it's when the next one will happen. And I can remember in certain states, in some states in this country, not the NSAS organizers or those that were on the street marching, people just went to the houses of politicians. Some set those houses ablaze. There were people that were no longer even in office. They set their houses ablaze. They're no longer in office, but they are politicians. Others were serving senators. They went to their house. I saw one of the, I don't want to call the state now, somebody went to somebody's house and where they were carrying things, he carried a mop stick, not a brand new one. It's a brand new mop stick that is okay, maybe I need a mop stick. And a used mop stick was on camera, was running away with a used mop stick. So what I'm saying is, people are angry because we cannot see what we are going through. There are no roads in this country now. I went to follow my governor to launch a job center in my constituency. We could almost not get out of my constituency. Going in and going out was a nightmare. And these are federal roads. And you expect the people to be excited about this. You are either kidnapped, maimed, or you are involved in an accident, or you are traveling for 5 hours on a journey of less than 1 hour. And come on. And thinking you have a budget of 5,000 naira or 10,000 naira to buy a vote will be enough. So, like I said, the young people are, like I said, I am angry, and it's good to tell you how I'm going to vote. So, my advice is, don't look at the political parties. Look at what they have done. The good thing is, we had one in power for 16 years. We've had one now going to 8 years. What have they done? 8 years is enough to do a whole lot of changes. What did you promise? What did you tell the electorates? What have you done today? Because the billboards with which they campaigned then, the narrative then, will all be out now. So people should ask questions. Don't just go there and say, because this is my party. Another thing I also want to mention is, there are traditional members of the party that will vote for the party, irrespective of what happens. But those in the middle, they are usually the ones that swing the votes. Like in the US, they call them the independents. They are the ones that will swing the vote. Most political parties might not like their candidate that's thrown up. They can hold their nose and go and vote for such a person. But those in the middle that you can call independents, they don't belong to any political party. They are the swing voters. They are the ones that might swing the 2023 election. And they're actually more than members of the political parties. Those are the people they should give attention to. So now we have 70-something people, 70-something years old people planning for this generation. Should they not be the ones making decisions for their own future? If somebody is almost 80, it's very close to the grave. I'm not saying it's by age that you die, but that is the person, an old generation person. not the new gen that are using technology. They are not planning for themselves. If those old schools that don't know what technology is, they are now planning for this new gen. People are not reinventing anything. Coming here today, I used Google Map to come here.
Okay.
It took me to the other side. And somebody said to me, okay, just turn around and come to this place. It's simple. Did I have to invent that? No. Did I have to recreate anything? No. It's available. Plug and play. That's the generation we are in today, microwave. Then you are now using analog people to now govern this set of generation. No, it's not going to work.
Okay, I just want you to quickly comment on this. You know, it seems that people are so involved this time around. What do you think about it?
The involvement of the
Of
young
people,
generation.
yeah, not just the young generation. Everybody seems to be involved.
I don't think everybody's
Maybe
involved.
more than before.
Yeah.
Or, okay, you have a contrary opinion.
Yeah, I think the young people are more enthusiastic because they can see that we are not going anywhere. So they have decided to take their destinies in their hands. Yes, because the challenge again, the religion thing and the tribal thing is more with the old generation. It's the young people really that don't care where you are from. And even if you talk about racism all over the world, the young people really they don't care about racism. They judge you by the content of your character and your capacity. You know, that's how the young people are. It's the old people that will still wake up and say, this person is black, this person is white, or this person belongs to this religion, this person is from this tribe. Don't marry from that tribe. These are the old people. But the young people don't see that. They don't see color, they don't see creed, they don't see anything. So they are the ones that I think will bring the change that we have been yearning for in this country. Not so much of the old people. But even the old people are being affected. Okay, now you have somebody who is a civil servant, earns maybe 500,000 naira in a month, and has 8 children. And 4 of them are in the university today. Maybe he's a director even, approaching retirement. You have 4 children in university. Maybe you have 2 that have graduated. The 2 they don't have jobs, they are not employed. The 4 in the university, they are at home because of ASU strike. So you think such a person will be excited to still go along with this generation of leaders? They are looking for creative ways. They are looking for new avenues. They want a change, not change that is promised that cannot be delivered. They want tangible change that they can see in their lifetime. When people say Nigeria will be good, great again, I want it in my lifetime, so that I know what I'm bequeathing to my children, unborn grandchildren or great grandchildren. It should happen in our lifetime.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's why we must take steps to make sure that when politicians are talking from both sides of the mouth now, we can see them clearly to say, look, you are not saying the right thing.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Yeah, we must make steps to ensure that we have the right leaders and hold them accountable so that we have a good Nigeria that all of us can be proud of. Thank you so much, Mr. Sergio Sogun, for sharing your thoughts with us on the program.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, moving on now, still on roadmap to 2023 general elections. Now we want to look at the importance of media in election and shaping our decision during elections, whether traditional media or the new media. But this time we are looking at the impact of social media, and NTA Abuja is bringing that to us.
2023 general elections in Nigeria are underway. Broadcasting stations in the country are awakened to their social responsibility of transparent surveillance and correlation of the electoral process. The dilemma of adherence to NBC's broadcasting rules at the detriment of the media organization's profit have also become a source of concern for owners of broadcasting stations in the nation.
The election period is a period when all the friction within the country are usually even more pronounced. So as media practitioners, it's very important that the role that they need to play in helping to nurture democracy, in helping to ensure that the political playing field is devoid of rancor, and to ensure that the frictions that exist inherently in the nation are not overemphasized. They need to ensure that their own, in the course of their duties, they play up the areas that improve our unity. They ensure that they are not biased. They ensure that everybody is given fair hearing. They ensure that things like hate speech, divisive content, all of those things are as much as possible, taken out.
So for us in the media, we cannot do anything except to keep the level playing field open. Not trying to side any tendency, any political party, no matter the hue, no matter the tribe, no matter the religion. So the best we could do, now that Mr. President and the National Assembly have provided a level playing field within the powers of the law, we in the media, our simple task is to adhere to the guidelines of the NBC that in simplicity says, please avoid fake news, don't impute, don't insinuate, report it as clearly and as accurate as you can.
The National Broadcasting Commission, in line with its guidelines of broadcasting practice, has charged broadcast stations to maintain professionalism while giving coverage to political activities.
Guidelines on political broadcast.
This year, collectively, the Independent National Electoral Commission, the National Assembly, the civil society organizations, and Mr. President signed it into law. So it's now engraved in what I call vote rigging vaccine. It's now a vaccine that more than ever before, to a greater extent, had continued to engender free, fair, and transparent election.
At national level and at the state level, because some of these media organizations are being bankrolled by the people in office, it's a little bit difficult sometimes to rein them in. Sometimes the excesses are not even as a direct result of the political actors themselves, the incumbents, but some overzealous people within the media industry who want to show their loyalty to whoever it is, that either the chief executive in the state or at the national. Most of the times in politics, what determines the choice of the people, sometimes it goes beyond what you are able to tell them on air. Sometimes people need to see some results on the ground. If there is hate speech being carried in any content, whether it's a media owned by the government or it's a media not owned by the government, their approach and their punishments should apply as enshrined in their code.
With the 2022 general elections drawing closer, it finds Nigeria on the precipice of a new journey to democratic leadership. There is no better time for the broadcasting industry to be a shining light on the path to progressive democracy.
Yeah, that was the role of broadcast media on electioneering, and that is from NTA Abuja. I have another guest in the studio now, Honorable Nze Chidi Duro, APC Deputy National Organizing Secretary. Sir, you're welcome to the studio.
Thank
you're
you,
welcome.
Shikela.
Okay. Now, you'll be with us for some time and to talk about so many issues concerning roadmap to 2023 general election. Let me start with your party. How prepared are you for the 2023 general elections, considering the fact that your party has not even flagged off its campaign, unlike some other parties?
In a nutshell, just to say that we're very much prepared, and I don't know of any other political party in Nigeria that is more prepared than APC for the 2023 general election. All works have been done, all planning had of course been consummated. And of course, you will also know that until September 28th, when INEC blew the whistle for political parties to begin the process of engaging in campaign, APC will work within the law. We've taken that period to plan, and I believe in the next days and weeks and months ahead, we begin to hear the sound, the bites, and of course the presence of APC, not just in your community, at every doorstep in Nigeria. So APC is very much prepared.
Okay.
More than any other political party.
Can you just let us to what your campaign will look like? Just curious.
The theme is basically around hope. We want to, again, assure Nigerians that APC is there to lead. APC is there to provide the leadership that Nigeria look forward to having. And that the candidate of the party, who is a presidential candidate, is well prepared to offer those solutions that Nigerians are looking at. And the theme will virtually be encapsulated around hope, giving hope to Nigerians. The hope is not lost. The APC is there, and is there to meet them at their point of need.
Okay, we're all hopeful. Now, let's look at the way the system, the political system has become, especially at this time that there are political campaigns. The atmosphere seems to be polarized, considering you have hate speech, you have all sorts. What should the electorate be looking at in the campaigns, beyond the hate speech, beyond personal issues and all that? Talking about ideology, policies, and programs.
Well, again, just to make the point that if you had again paid attention in the last few weeks, you will see that the party had always conformed and restricted itself within the law. APC is a political party that did not break the law in terms of beginning to launch its campaign, and that is very instructive. APC in the coming days will unveil its manifesto, which have received the approval of the highest echelon of the party, and of course the Presidential Campaign Council of the party. Embedded in that will be what will be showcasing to Nigerians, and actually was at the back of the encouragement that led to the meeting last 2 weeks, that what people call the Peace Committee, where all the political parties came together to sign the peace accord, which is again encouraging the parties to restrict itself to an issue-based campaign, as against personality, as against hate speech, as against attacking individuals, and hope that other parties will borrow a leaf from what the party would like to unveil in the next few days.
Okay, looking at the larger picture now, beyond APC, what should the candidates generally be doing at this time?
At this time, I cannot speak for other candidates. I will speak for APC. What we have done, like I said again, in the last few weeks, in the last few days, have been planning. We've gone to the drawing board. We brought the best professionals that is possible and available in Nigeria. We hired the best consultants. We've spoken to them. They've identified what Nigerians are looking at, what Nigerians would like to see post-2023 and towards the election if we win the election. And all of that has been captured in our manifesto, which we will unveil to Nigerians. We are more than ready. We've galvanized the base. Our candidates across the rank and file, from state assembly members who are candidates of the party to the National Assembly, both the House and the Senate, have all shared within the manifesto of the party and the plan of the party. Our gubernatorial candidates at all levels also shares the vision of the party and are well energized on that basis that once that manifesto is rolled out, the candidates of the party will be able to take it to the doorstep of every Nigerian to show to them that we are prepared to offer the leadership that Nigerians are yearning for.
So the doorstep of every Nigerian, how would that be done?
Campaigning. Okay. Being at your doorstep, showing to you that you count, you matter, because it is within this administration, as you know, that the government, the president, have always said that your vote will count. INEC had been shown to be reasonably independent to the extent that within this administration, as unlike others before it, it is the first time in the history of Nigeria that it's possible for an opposition party to win an election in Nigeria. APC won in Ekiti State, APC lost in Osun State, and the government has been shown not to interfere in the affairs of INEC in the organization of a free, fair, transparent election. And it's on that basis that APC also understand, as much as it's encouraging other political parties to also understand, that the only way you can win the vote and mind of Nigerians is to be able to get out there, get out the vote, talk to them, speak to them, to be able to assure them that the party will represent their wishes and aspirations.
Okay, so many things shape the election and even the campaigns before the elections. And one of them is media broadcast.
Yes.
You know, broadcast media, be it traditional media or the social media, especially at this digital age, we have media manipulation and the rest of. What do you think the media should be doing at this time to shape the decision of the electorate and even maybe the candidates to shape how they conduct themselves at this time?
Like every other stakeholder in the political process, and we believe that the media, more than any other, have the onerous responsibility, and indeed are duty bound, to redirect the candidates and the political party to what is important. And what is important in our view is what would the electorate expect from the political party and the candidate. And therefore, the media should always steer the candidates in that direction. And as much as possible, eschew and encourage the parties to eschew bitterness, encourage the parties not to be personal in campaigning, and then, of course, ensure that we take away from the realms of the political process any act of hate speech, as we have begun to see more than ever before in the history of political process in Nigeria. And APC, being conscious of his duty, have restrained himself from embarking in this unworthy cause. So I would like to see the media, whether it's the print, the electronic, or the social media space, encourage the candidates should begin to talk about issues that Nigerians worry about. How do we put food on the table? Very important. How do we create an enabling environment that ensure that businesses thrive in Nigeria? How do we ensure that our kids are in school? How do we also ensure that when you leave school, you have the opportunity of being employed? And that is more important than any other thing else before. How do we also ensure that Nigerians are given the best possible opportunity with their God-given talent to be able to raise the money, to realize their ambition, and employ Nigerians? How do we ensure that Nigerians in the diaspora also have contact with Nigerians, are involved in Nigerians, are also having impact in what we do? How do we ensure that Nigerian, as we know, which is the most populous country in Africa, he stands his place, takes his position, and stands in his position in the Committee of Nations? This is what should worry all of us.
Okay, you know, we're still talking about issue-based campaigns. Exactly. So can you let us the issues, the salient issues that APC will likely raise during the election, the campaigns, I mean?
One of the things that is very important and is very dear to the party is the issue of level playing field in Nigeria. Is the issue of businesses, is this issue of encouraging the fact that Nigerians can be their best possible in the country, is also the issue of ensuring that Nigerians, wherever they be, will have faith and confidence in Nigeria. That Nigeria is a place where Nigerians will be very proud of, and Nigerians will also have a trust in their leadership to provide the required leadership in the country. That our educational system will be the best that it could possibly be. And those sense of nostalgia, those patriotism that we always have when Nigerian soccer and Nigerian team is playing against another country, Nigerians will come around and support the Nigerian team, that will be able to bring it back in the public discourse and in the public space in a manner that Nigerians will be proud to call themselves Nigeria. That the green passport that we hold, will be proud to hold it anywhere and want to land in any country, and that green passport becomes a ticket of reference of the kind of person you are, where you come from, and the kind of nation that you represent.
No, yeah, you're already campaigning.
Not exactly, but just showing that this is the kind of politics that APC would like to put
issues.
on the table.
That is beautiful. And you know, Nigerians are curious. The party APC is the ruling political party, exactly. And they want to just know when you're going to flag off your campaign. They're interested.
Well, I believe that in the next few days from now, that the roadmap to our campaign will be ready. I must also say that unlike other political parties, we're not making a wide cry over it, in the sense of saying that, look, our campaign will start in October, in November, or the other. But our campaign have already started. The moment INEC blew the whistle,
just as I said, you're already campaigning.
The moment INEC blew the whistle on September 28th of this way, we galvanized the base. At the ward levels, you see a lot of activities that are currently going on at the ward level. The executive of the party at the ward levels are beginning to engage the electorates, to educating them, like I said again, around the manifesto of the party and the need for the party to be in government, to continue to be in government. At the local government level, activities are taking place. At the state level, the same thing. But I want to say that in the next few days from now, there will be an unveiling of our manifesto. And around that unveiling will also be a revelation of the timetable of campaigns when the candidate of the party, and by this I mean the presidential candidate of the party, will be visiting particular states, when it will visit those states, and the date he will visit those states. And also the party itself, the national chairman of the party, will also go across the zonal structures of the party, again to energize the base, and then to also inform them what the party stands for. And through that means to engage the relevant stakeholders on the benefit of returning APC in February next year.
Yeah, thank you very much. Nigerians, look out for the best to lead you come 2023. I've been in conversation with Honorable Nzechidi Juro. He's the APC Deputy National Organizing Secretary. Thank you very much for coming to the program and for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you, Shikola. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Earlier in the week, we had a conversation with Professor Suleiman Bogoro. That is the former executive secretary of a TET Fund.
There would always be challenges along the line of movement. There are positives and there are occasional negatives. We've had our challenges as a nation, and those negative spots and periods in the history of our country after independence, 1960, 1st October, it should have constituted reflective areas, including, of course, as it were, the Civil War, prolonged military rule, as it were, in an era where democracy is clearly the most popular form of governance, for which we all subscribe to, and precisely why we have a constitution and democratic governance, and the presidential system is our own way of running our country for this while. We started with the parliamentary system and moved to presidential American style. Yes, there have been challenges, but let me say this. For a long time, from 1999, yes, I think we know that we have gone 23 years now, 23 years uninterrupted democratic governance. We need to reflect over that aspect and say, well, at least we have been able to remind the military guys to remain in the barracks. I think that's a big positive and in that regard. But then, on a more serious manner, I want to say that there have been challenges in so many ways, from the vicissitudes of the style of governance to the unfortunate challenges more recently, as it were, is it insecurity, attempt to balance the tendencies in a very heterogeneous society, the heterogeneity emanating from identity issues. Nigeria is very heterogeneous in terms of faith. Two main religions predominate. But then that is not to say other religions. There are those that they don't have religion in their vocabulary. But we know that in our country, they are in the absolute minority. We are a very religious society and people. And then the other identity aspects of our heterogeneity have to do with ethnic identities across the country. Unfortunately, there are some other aspects that have challenged our country that have more to do with attitudinal. We have allowed things like regionalism, etc., compartmentalization. The creation of states was supposed to give opportunity for the political entities to be able to manage themselves and be more efficient. But many scholars have said, as we created states, many of them are becoming even lazier instead of taking advantage. And precisely why, today as I talk to you, we've watched the politicians in the last few weeks in the preparation for 2023 presidential and other elections next year. The issue of restructuring is one word that is featured for quite a while in our country. And it has to do with what? Devolution of powers, resources, and so on, especially for the purpose of reducing the bloated federal structure to provide more powers and give more resources to states and even local government, down to local governments. The way it operates now, we know it. I know for quite a while there has been this debate about part of the restructuring has had to do with whether or not to have state police. Northern governors and traditional rulers threw their weight totally behind it. And that has to do with the challenge of insecurity recently. So whatever we need to do, you would see that government has been struggling in the face of the problem of what? It was Boko Haram before. Now we have ISWAP. We have all sorts of trans-border terror groups. And those that have operated under a different weather and kidnapping, for instance. At some point you wonder, the kidnapping, initially it was some persons that were armed robbers before they are specializing in kidnapping. But more recently we discovered that the Boko Haram, the ISWAPs, etc., are equally involved in kidnapping. And it's been very worrisome. And that is why government, you would notice in the last 3 to 4 weeks, government has had to proceed to deploy Tucano jets by the Air Force to hit spots where there might be the fortresses and the hiding spots for a number of those guys in the forests, the Sampisas of this world, a number of ungoverned spaces across our country. We are hoping that the political class and our leaders and rulers are able to give us a sense of belonging by the way they govern. And by putting it that way, I mean, for instance, to ensure that whatever may be the dividends of democracy, it does not stop in Abuja. It goes to Gashua. It goes to Newi. It goes to Oyo, for instance. You can go on and on. Only recently, look at what some of our athletes did to us. We are so proud. And only last week, Mr. President was very excited, and look at what he did, giving them national honors. And I remember the lady that broke the world record, Amusan, she said she can't believe it, that she now has a national honor. These were her words. You know, that's to tell you and that she got a recognition and even a handshake from the president. Nobody takes that lightly. It's an honor. So if the political actions are right, it gives a sense of belonging. It has been said that one moment that Nigerians forget about regional differences, ethnic differences, faith differences, is when you watch the Eagles play soccer, or the Falcons and the Falconets. You check it out there. As somebody once said, well, from the defense, it was terrible. In the midfield, it was fine enough, Okocha. And then at the finishing line, it was Rashidi Yekini, just as an example. Or now, as we have it, this guy at Napoli, Osimhen. I mean, the truth is that he is such a gifted finisher. He gallops. The other day, he gallops and messed up Liverpool. I mean, you can imagine as a Nigerian, I was excited. There was a moment that we were proud of these guys. I still remember at the World Cup 2018, I insisted. I don't know why those guys didn't know. I am a football fan. I may not be a very good player, but there was one of the goals that Ahmed Musa, as captain, scored against Iceland. Believe me, take a look at that goal. For many years, I pray that our political actors, by their actions, will ensure that whatever they do, Nigerian, as a citizen, each segment, regardless of how tall or short you are, at some point you hear people talking about, we will ensure that every Nigerian that, look, we've heard of some of the candidates saying we would run a government of national unity, just as an example. And a number of the candidates, of course, with the background of their performance in office at various levels, some as governors, etc., they are sharing their perspectives and are reminding us of their records. Many of them that they were commendable. I mean, this is the kind of thing we want to see. This kind of competition. At the end of the day, Nigerians will decide who will they will elect to lead us. But it's very important that at 62, we should be able to reflect. Somebody once said, if there is any resilient nation in the world, Nigeria may be number one. Or we're talking about a resilient nation, Nigeria will rank number one. There are moments people think we give up on Nigeria and it bounces back. At independence, we are celebrating possibilities. We are not supposed to be ruminating over challenges of the past, but rather we should use the challenges and missteps of the past to correct it. And at the end of the day, by the time you see some of our sportsmen and women celebrating when we win trophies, something tells me we will gather not long from now as we continue to keep ourselves working together towards a common cause, that Nigeria, we will be increasing in strength and capacity and competitiveness going forward. There has been and there will continue to be debate as to the expectations of Nigerians in respect of managing diversity and heterogeneity. There are those moments when sometimes you find some persons that are complaining of one issue, they are given opportunity to act or play some roles. And they are doing almost worse things than the person that they criticize one moment. It shouldn't be so. If you are criticizing, make sure that in your smallest of box, if you are in charge of a unit, if you are in charge of an organization, if you are in charge of a state, you should be able to ask the question to yourself, how am I taking care of every segment of the state, of the local government, of the institution, etc., of the department, of the faculty? I can go on and on. Are they being carried along? And there is a sense of fairness. I believe that we have the huge opportunities, but I tell you one thing, I remain positive that we have crossed over our worst of moments. We should be positive that with all of us expressing ourselves to our political leaders, they will be able to act right, and why not? Nigeria will continue to move and scale up by ranking in all areas of competitiveness, including ensuring that there is a harmony and a sense of belonging that encourages every Nigerian to bring out his or her best for the nation.
The conversation will continue on Roadmap to 2023 general election. Thank you for being part of the program.